Welcome everybody to What's NXT for August 5th, 2020. I'm your host, the Rated R reviewer, Stefan Osborne, joined tonight co-hosting the Troll Slayer himself, ViRTUE. How's it going, ViRTUE?
What's up? Look, I just tweeted this link to this show, and we get a couple thumbs down. Ironically, I was arguing with somebody about Eric Bischoff on Twitter, so they're probably coming over and attacking us with their fake YouTube accounts. Let's talk about NXT. I don't want to talk about has-been Eric Bischoff, Mr. I spent Ted Turner's money, and that's the legacy of my career. Let's talk about NXT.
Oh, so there is something that AEW can do to piss you off.
There's a lot. Don't pay attention. I'm
It's
not a big
doable.
Orange Cassidy fan either.
Yes, I've heard those grumblings. I kind of agree with you, but kind of on the same plane. I respect the hell out of the guy because with that gimmick, and here we are talking about AEW, with that gimmick though, he has to, and I think I've told you this because I mentioned the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, where they had to create an entire genre of martial arts for somebody wielding an axe. They had to create all the moves. So he's had to create all the moves for this character that is just supposed to, do what he does. So anyway, I respect that. That's pretty cool. But on the same hand, it is a little bit too kitsch. Let's move into NXT. We start the show with the number one contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley versus Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai comes out by herself. No Raquel Gonzalez. So that's a little telling for me, because I felt like if she didn't come out with her, Raquel was going to interfere later, to make it seem like a surprise. What do you think about this opening match?
Well, I thought Rhea Ripley was going to win, but then they had Mercedes Martinez come out and kick her, push her down, whatever happened when Rhea Ripley was on the outside or up on the rope. And then Dakota Kai won and is the number one contender. I kind of like her. I like when they do the kicks still, like the standing kicks to the head. I would like to see more Enziguri type moves, but at least these two made it look like a fight. And NXT has been really good with that lately, whereas AEW not so much. Where they make it look like a fight, at least a good portion of the match. And I think this match had that in several spots, but I was very shocked that Dakota Kai won, because I really thought, and I get it, right? They had a reason why Rhea Ripley didn't, so that can be a feud for her now. But just strange, ever since losing that title to Charlotte, I thought they'd kind of put her right back up there, but it looks like they're going to wait a little bit longer.
Well, I think, everybody expected Rhea, and that's why it's better not to go with her for a lot of reasons. One, the surprise factor. Two, Rhea's always going to be a person of interest when it comes to the Women's Championship. She's always going to be in the title picture, whether she's going for the title or not. After somebody loses, then maybe it's Rhea Ripley. Maybe not. But then the next person loses, and maybe it's Rhea Ripley. So she's just fine with this, and I like the idea of her versus Mercedes Martinez, because Mercedes Martinez needs somebody on a higher level in order to make her look credible, because especially being teamed with the Robert Stone brand. So, as you mentioned, the match ends with her getting on the apron somehow without the ref seeing, and when Rhea Ripley punches Dakota Kai off the top rope, she almost falls into the ref. He turns around, and Mercedes Martinez takes the perfect opportunity to kick Rhea Ripley in the chest into the ring post. Somehow she stays on the ring apron, but then Dakota Kai picks her up, drapes her over the top rope, and hits a go-to kick draped off the top rope. I'm not sure it needed that. Kind of like Danny Burch's finisher, where he DDTs a motherfucker off the top rope, and then the finisher is the dual finisher for their tag team is when he does it off his partner's shoulders, and I'm like, it doesn't need it either way. Anyway, yeah, I've got a bunch of notes for this match, but yeah, that's how it ends. And I thought it was a really good match in between. My favorite note of the match, towards the beginning, Ripley hits a delayed vertical suplex onto Dakota Kai, had her hand all up in her junk. All up in her junk.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, and held it up for a few minutes, too.
I was like,
but hey, she
whoop.
was keeping her safe. That's what it's about.
But before the commercial break, the best part worth mentioning was a graphic announcing Keith Lee versus Cameron Grimes tonight. That's fun. Let's see. Rhea keeps a slow pace. My problem with the match is Rhea's style, where she's slow, methodical, and she works like a heel. She's supposed to be a babyface, but she works over the heel here, who Dakota Kai looks like a babyface, like she needs to come back into the match, and she does several times. Let's see, one point she trips Rhea face first into the middle turnbuckle, but eventually Rhea always gets on top. She hits this sick electric chair face plant, first time on the outside to the fucking ring apron, then back on the inside. She gets a near fall off of it.
See, I watch the matches to get to the finish. I don't care. I mean, if there's a couple memorable spots in the middle, I'm fine with that. But like, I cannot sit there and study like moves like Meltzer. So I appreciate that you do, because you remind me of some of the things that I did like. But it's not in my nature to sit there and memorize that, because I'm more about where they're going afterwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Kai counters a Riptide into a sick DDT, like a Dolph Ziggler style DDT for a near fall. She goes for a chiropractor, but Rhea like knocks her off and big boots her into the chest. Then picks her up into a prism trap, which you think Kai's going to tap, but then she rolls backwards, which is forwards, and then sends Rhea face first again into the turnbuckle. Let's see, and then she does the running face wash that she's known for into the corner. That's when they both get up on top, and Rhea punches her off, and then that's where we have the distraction and Mercedes Martinez, and then the finish. And after the bell, Mercedes Martinez attacks Rhea Ripley. She hits the air raid crash after match, and that ends the opening segment.
I'm pretty confident Io Shirai will beat Dakota Kai, whereas if it would have been Rhea Ripley, I might have won either way. But again, it's neither here nor there. When is the Io Shirai championship match going to happen? At 30?
It's going to happen at 30, but honest to God, I don't know when the fuck 30 is.
They haven't set a date on it yet?
I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in the chat room, which I don't think mine's loading, or maybe it is. Oh, yeah, there we go. We've got Israel Diaz, what's up? We've got Keith Scott, new guy. What's up, sir? And the Natural Nate Spain. What's up, guys, in the chat room? We got 3 of you.
But yeah, I mean, it's what you get when you get matches like this in NXT. And so they did a little bit of difference there and had somebody attack Rhea Ripley and set up potential feud for her, and now Dakota Kai's the number 1 contender.
And it wasn't Raquel Gonzalez, so swerve. Yeah. We get footage of Pat McAfee talking to Shawn Michaels earlier. They said that he is going to be on commentary later, so this is fun. Meanwhile, Bronson Reed versus Shane Thorne. This was an okay match. I saw some shit out of Shane Thorne that I didn't know he could do. What do you think?
Well, who's the big guy? Is it Bronson Reed?
Yeah.
The bull type guy, not as big as Otis, but bulky, chubby like that.
Yeah, he's the Australian.
Is he one of the guys from NXT UK or worked over there?
No, actually, he started in, I think,
there were
the
some
Breakout
big guys
tournament.
over there. I remember when I watched some of those episodes, bigger. But anyway, I like guys like that when they go over. And I think that this was kind of a short match, wasn't it?
Ish.
And
yeah.
They need more short matches. I'm gonna have a big problem with the Keith Lee match later. Nothing he did, but I like the bigger guys. Like I was a big fan of Earthquake back in the day. I like having guys that aren't all physically fit in gymnastics, and so that's what I took away from this match, because I can't say I usually watch these kind of guys. Reed's the reason why I was interested in this match, because I'm sitting there thinking, you know what I mean? It's different. I like that different stuff.
Yeah, and he can do some shit. Like we saw him last week hit a tope suicida to both guys on the outside, or one of the guys.
You notice, the bigger guys, even in NXT, got to still do some of that stuff. Keith Lee does it too, because it's the fan. I mean, they got to. They got to have those few elements of what that fan base likes. So.
Well, I think the niche here is, no matter what the size, a well-rounded athlete. So even if they just do a little bit of high flying, it shows that they're trying to not just be one dimensional in the ring.
But yeah, I mean, I could see this guy more often.
So yeah, we saw a Suicida, speaking of them, from Thorne, but he hit this wicked Suicida. Think the Torpedo Moscow, which I know maybe you've seen NXT UK. That's the finishing move for Ilya Dragunov. And
I remember I've seen his match. Didn't he wrestle? Did he put that move on Balor in their match?
Possibly, or at least tried it.
I more around when they fought.
Yeah, he runs at you and hits a headbutt to the shoulder or to the head. In this case, he hit a like headbutt to the chest off of a Suicida. That was crazy. Let's see, but it doesn't last. Reed hits him with a full Nelson slam onto the apron. He goes up top, where Thorne hits him with the drop kick, which like drapes him over the top rope, over the turnbuckle, and then he hits a running flip senton into him, and then hits a Shining Wizard. This was the closest he got to a victory. Kick out. Reed they're trading, and Reed looks like he's dazed, and Thorne goes off the ropes trying to hit a lariat, and we see out of Reed a Bray Wyatt style just quick turnaround lariat that turns Thorne inside fucking out, picks him up, hits him with a Death Valley driver that is just like Tommy Dreamer-esque. Like,
this is this is a whole sequence I liked. It opened my eyes to him, because not only did he hit him with the lariat, and then of course the flip, then he does a Death Valley driver, and then he goes up for the splash. I like it.
Top rope splash, 1, 2, 3. Of course, Bronson Reed gets.
See, I do watch these matches, people, because I said the finish there before Stefan could get to it.
So we go backstage. They show earlier Breezango showing up to the show, and El Legado del Fantasma, they fucking roll up in their van or whatever, and they beat up on both of them. They slam somebody with the door, throw Fandango in the back of this Jeep or something, and take off. And
dude, I like these guys.
They're back to their kidnapping ways.
The promo and in arena stuff. We'll talk about that when we get there.
So we go from that to a video package for Ridge Holland, Oney Lorcan, and Damien Priest. They have the triple threat match tonight. This is going to determine the third member, or the third participant in the 5-man ladder match for the North American Championship at TakeOver 30. And somewhere we get a notice about one Dexter Loomis. But we'll talk about that shortly.
That was shocking to me tonight. I did not know that was a thing.
Meanwhile, McKenzie's backstage trying to talk to Robert Stone and the Robert Stone brand about why they interfered with Rhea's match. And he says that she might be done with the Robert Stone brand, but the Robert Stone brand is not done with her. And Aaliyah says, I'll take it from here, and then just hits her with a bye. And the three of them walk off. What do you think about this?
There's a little dysfunction with this Robert Stone brand ever since the whole blow up with Chelsea Green, but maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe that's the gimmick with this thing, and you never know who's going to be with him, or maybe it's just kind of rebooting, and it'll end up being something serious here, but we'll have to see.
Well, he's got a star and he's got a lackey. He just put them together in the wrong order.
Yep. Yeah.
In this case, I like it. This gives Mercedes Martinez so many more levels to her character. And again, like I said, I think last week, it also gives her a level that's like a way to beat her. You know, a way to distract her by messing with her entourage. But anyway, this, of course, is going to lead to probably a match between her and Rhea Ripley. We'll get to that later. On to the triple threat match. Damien Priest, Oney Lorcan, Ridge Holland, who has still got his same music from NXT UK, still got his same entrance, still pretty cool. He looks great. They work very well into the match how he gets eliminated from, doing stuff, because when he's up on his feet, he's dominating this match despite being the new guy. So I think they're very high on this guy. What do you think about the triple threat match?
Well, I'm kind of glad Damien Priest won, because does he not? What does he get for this? He's in the North American title picture.
The winner of this match goes into the 5-man ladder match for the North American Championship at TakeOver 30, which is in 2 weeks, I'm being told by Israel Diaz and the Natural Nate Spain.
Oney Lorcan's a guy he's one of I don't know if it's his name. It sounds weird, but when I see him, he's got a good style. I like how he worked with Damien Priest in this match, and you know what I kind of like about NXT, the way I think this was after the match, but how they do those outside in the parking lot interviews. Didn't they do one of those with Damien Priest on this show? Where he was talking outside I think it was after the match.
Oh, it wasn't really an interview. It was him and Bronson Reed running into each other like outside in front of somebody's car.
That's the kind of stuff that I like, and this match was good. Like normally on triple threat matches, I get upset when someone's down and out and only the two work, and then they keep flip flopping. I'm one of those that want to see a triple threat match where all three guys are like doing stuff the whole time, with maybe they get a little break here and there. But I was okay with it on this match. And I don't know if it was just because I was kind of focusing on Damien Priest, because I'm sitting there thinking, dude, I remember when this guy was wasn't he mixing it up with Balor at one point?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, why this guy needs kind of elevated, because he was a big deal. I think he was in New Japan and Ring of Honor, wherever he was before. I'm like, come on, NXT. You have to. NXT had such a big buzz before, when they had the Balors and the Joes and the Sami Zayns. It's kind of like such a new generation now. I mean, you still got some guys down there like Gargano and Ciampa. I think Damien Priest is one of those guys they got to kind of somewhat push. So this was awesome, the fact that he won the match, but like that finish, would you have done the finish a different way? It doesn't matter as long as he wins.
Yeah, I would have had Ridge Holland win, to be honest, just because of the way that they're building this ladder match with these these newer guys. If Damien Priest isn't going to win the ladder match, then he shouldn't be in the ladder match. He should be hovering around the main event instead of the mid-card title.
I'd be fine with that, but he's not. So, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, not everybody can be in the main event. Right now, you got the champ is Keith Lee, and the challenger is basically Karrion Kross. So, what do you do with Damien Priest in the meantime? Well, let him win this match and move on to a ladder match that he may or may not win for a title that he should be above right now. But that's fine. Keith Lee won that title to, damn near immediately a few months later win the NXT Championships. So, I mean, I love thinking back to the promo. I think it was an Undisputed Era promo, and Keith Lee approaches them, and he's looking at him, and he's like, the question is, which one of your titles am I going to take first? And I'm like, damn, did he not deliver? He took one, then the other. The only one he didn't have to bother with was the tag team, but, it is what it is. Let's see. I've got Lorcan hitting that Con Hilo to both guys on the outside. That was fun. Lorcan was on crack in this match. He was high speed for the whole match. This is a different side of Lorcan. Normally he's fairly bland.
Is he normally like that in matches? Because
no,
it seemed different. It seemed different tonight.
No, he's usually really offensive. He's really what's the word I'm looking for?
I wonder if it was because it was a triple threat.
Maybe because he knew he was going to have time to breathe here and there.
Yeah.
So Holland hits him with a overhead suplex. It looked kind of like a Tazplex, and then double traps Priest's arms, who was going for body shots, and then he headbutts him, and then does hit an overhead suplex to him. And to be honest, out of maybe half a dozen matches or less that we saw him in NXT UK before it basically shut down with the virus, I saw more moves out of him in this match than I've seen in anything he's ever done on NXT UK. Anyway.
So that's encouraging, right?
Yeah, definitely. It shows that he's been doing stuff while everything's been going on. So he's still been training. This is where they tell us about Dexter Lumis. Apparently he's not healthy. We're going to get an update later. Let's see. Oney attempts to do a tope to Damien Priest on the outside, but Holland catches him and pounces him. And then this was a fun move. It was like a jiu-jitsu takeover, like a side takeover like you'd see Ronda Rousey do, but he follows it with a jackhammer. It was a weird suplex jackhammer thing. I liked it. In the end, Priest hits a sit-out choke bomb to Holland, and then the reckoning to Lorcan. He gets the pinfall. He moves on. So this takes us. Do what?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Damien Priest.
If he wins. If he wins. If not, this was all for naught. Now that we're halfway through the show, I'm going to start my drinking game with the people in the chat room. We got 4 or 5 of you now. So I know you can't leave super chats, but how about this? If you share the show, share it on social media, send me a screen cap on my social media at Stephen R. Osborne on Twitter. And if you share the show, I will take the shot. And I got plenty of booze to do this.
You heard it there.
You heard it there. And my phone's on, so I'll get notification if you share it. All right, let's move on. Pat McAfee. Speaking of alcohol, this guy seems like he's kind of on a buzz through most of his day. He tweets out with pics showing him and Adam Cole bearing the hatchet, basically, saying it was so good to have this conversation where 2 adults could come together and agree to disagree, basically. And the wording of all of this is very non-confrontational, but at the same time passive-aggressive, kind of like Cole's was a week or so ago. But we're going to move on from that because there is a fallout here, and so we have room to talk about this later.
And I love this whole thing tonight with these two because, believe it or not, there was a handful of people, one in particular, he's a new contributor to NoDQ.com. I'm not going to say his name, but you probably know who it is. Really thought this was a shoot when this happened on Pat McAfee's show. And I dissected it, and I said, I wish it was. Because then that would be great. Like, I love that kind of stuff. But I'm like, no, this is turning into, it's a work. And tonight gave me 100% gratification and proof that this whole thing is a work to get to a match. And I'm okay with that now. But
yep, but we'll get there. We got a whole other hour of show to fill, starting with Cameron Grimes versus Keith Lee. This was a weird match. Usually Keith Lee matches are much more fun, especially with a guy like Cameron Grimes who can go. This was not really fun. What do you think about it?
Let me ask you this question, because this match bothered me. Keith Lee, new champion. He looks the way he looks. It's like the Incredible Hulk. Cameron Grimes, what have they booked him? Any big matches? What is he? Is he just wrestle anybody, or has he been pushed? He's got booked well at all ever?
I think right now they're waiting on a number 1 contender for him. In the meanwhile, this isn't a bad match to give him. Cameron Grimes is a contender.
Grimes. But has this guy ever been like? Has he had big matches? Who's he wrestled?
He's had big matches. Like he's had a match against Balor. In fact, I think he beat Balor during a match when Damien Priest came out and hit Balor in the back of the leg with the tire iron, and this got Cameron Grimes the victory. He was fucking hollering about that for weeks. He's a big name coming out of the breakout tournament. He's probably the breakout guy from that tournament at this juncture. If Bronson Reed wins the NA title, I think he will surpass him. But in the meanwhile, yeah, I like him. I like this match. Grimes did his best to liven up the match. For most of the beginning of it, he was basically begging off Keith Lee, getting in the ropes. At one point, he yells at Lee for getting up in his space when clearly he was in the ropes and Lee should back off. And who does he think he is? This is Cameron Grimes! It's Grime time.
Yeah, oh, God. When I see Keith Lee, I see dominance, and I don't like him having matches like this, that somebody like Cameron Grimes testing him to the limit. Maybe Cameron Grimes, if he's going to wrestle like that, he shouldn't have wrestled Keith Lee. He should wrestle people where he can get his stuff in the match. Keith Lee needs to be smacking people around and looking dominant. I understand some NXT champions, like when Adam Cole has it, he's going to get pushed to the limit in all of his matches. Keith Lee, they need to show him as dominant. This match went on way too long, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? I don't think Keith Lee should even wrestle him if they didn't want to job Grimes out as like getting squashed. I want to see Keith Lee squash people. Like, I do. I mean,
let me get rid of this.
That's what he looks like to me.
I disagree. I like this match.
It bothers me that they're going to have anybody that faces him. Keith Lee's a big dude. Johnny Gargano is a small dude. And put him to the limit. That's not believable to me.
Well, this is just,
With all due respect to Johnny Gargano, by the way.
this is just a pit stop between him and Karrion Kross, obviously. But I like this match. I think they told a good story. Cameron Grimes basically was cannon fodder here, but he did have some offense. He got on top at one point, I think right before commercial break, by, sneak attacking or surprise attacking Keith Lee outside, running him into the steps. He gets some offense, and then periodically through the match, Keith Lee goes for a solid finisher that he will counter. Somehow he counters. But he never really gets any solid offense except that one spot. He hits that collision course and gets a near fall. But other than that, Keith Lee is just dominating the whole match. So I don't think this was bad for a pit stop.
That's what I think made me not draw to this match so much, because he dominated so much during it. Why did it go so long? It's not like he was like a Vader.
Because Grimes is crafty. Because Grimes is crafty. But eventually he goes for a cave-in, gets countered into a power bomb, and then Keith Lee just stoically just picks him up with that wrist for like 3 or 4 short arm lariats, and then picks him up and finishes him off with a pop-up power bomb, spirit bomb, and 1, 2, 3. Of course Keith Lee was going to win. He gets up, lights go out. Scarlett is heard talking nonsense. I think it's words backwards or something.
Probably. Or Carney talk.
And then up on the Tron, there's Karrion Kross, and he says, I guess we're doing this the hard way. This is on you, Keith Lee. And in the background's a bunch of dudes in whatever room he's in that he took out. One of which, I guess, is Oney Lorcan's tag team partner, Danny Burch. We'll hear about this later. But your thoughts on Karrion Kross and where this is going?
Well, I mean, Karrion Kross is awesome. I know him having his wife or girlfriend there, Scarlett Bordeaux. They're an act together. I get it. This guy, he needs to beat Keith Lee. They're going to put Karrion Kross against Keith Lee already. If Karrion Kross loses early, that just takes his mystique away. But if he wins the title, and they can have it where it can be kind of dusty, I guess, and then Lee chases him for it, that's your money feud, in my opinion. So I love this Karrion Kross gimmick. I wish it was Killer Kross. But I think that they have to have him win the title. If he's going to go for Keith Lee and they're going to give him a championship match, right? They could do this without the championship on the line, but I hate when they do that too. That he needs to win it and have Keith Lee chase it. Like, I cannot, if he loses, they better have something weird happen, like the ring collapses or something and he falls in it or something. I mean, because you know what I mean? Like,
or just the traditional somebody loses by DQ.
Guys, but if you do have a clean finish, Karrion Kross beating Keith Lee, maybe with a little distraction from Scarlett, at least kind of protects Keith Lee, and then he will then chase. That to me is where the money is.
Well, I think as soon as Keith Lee loses the title, if he does chase it again, it'll be very short and unsuccessful, because once he leaves the NXT Championship, he's headed for the main roster.
You think so soon?
I think as soon. Yeah, I think he was probably supposed to be to the main roster already, and Triple H probably staved it off with like, look, I've already got plans for him to be champ for a little bit. He'll be even better for you once he's had the gold, and so here we are. And once he loses the title, he's probably on his way up.
Well, yeah, I mean, Karrion Kross has to win it. I mean, if he's getting involved in that scene, the main event scene this soon, and he's supposed to be this just fierce, savage entity, I mean, Aleister Black had a great run in NXT. Now look at him. This is Karrion Kross's time now, so.
I've got Kraz G now following me. Hopefully that's Davi, and he has shared this link, and because he wants to see me drink, we got to share the link. There we go. If you want to see me drink,
I had cranberry juice, but
you got to share the link. Just saying.
Nope.
Let's move on. William Regal is on the TV, but he is probably not in Florida. I'm just saying. He's addressing the ladder match.
England, right?
I don't know. Maybe he lives in Florida. He's just not at the Performance Center. But I would think if he lived in Florida, he would be there. Everybody else is. Triple H is there. Shawn Michaels is there. William Regal is not, but he wants to address Dexter Lumis, who got an ankle injury during his triple threat match and is now out of the TakeOver match at TakeOver 30. So, in 2 weeks' time, the 4 men that didn't take falls, because apparently Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor have been pissed about this, pissy too on Twitter. They've been twitty pissy, and they're going to get matches with the next 2 people that don't take the fall out of the next 2 triple threat matches, tonight's and next week's, and we find out what next. Actually, they tweeted about what next week's was earlier in the day. Colin the Cleaver Andrew sent me a link to that. So anyway,
this was confusing. You got to break this down to me. I know Dexter Lumis is hurt.
Okay, so we've got 4 triple threat matches. So we've got 2 of them settled, 1 tonight, 1 next week. The one that was settled last week with Dexter Lumis is now open. So now there's 2 open spots and 2 one-on-one singles matches in 2 weeks' time that are going to determine the last 2 spots. This was
for the North American ladder match.
Was kind of my idea. My idea was for the 5th match was going to be a fatal 4-way with all the guys that didn't take the fall, but this is different. I don't know if the Dexter Lumis thing is shoot or work. Honestly, I don't care. If he wasn't going to win the match, then I'm just assuming not be in it, because I'm a big fan of Dexter Lumis.
That's 2 people now. And if they weren't going to win the match, you don't want them in it. So we need people in the match.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, you're right. But in these 2 cases, I stand by my words.
Different people in there. I get it. Unless you're basically thinking like a Damien Priest or Dexter Lumis name-wise. If they're in a match like that, they have to win the title. If they're not going to win it, put the other guy in there. I mean, I get it.
Damien Priest name-wise, but Dexter Lumis as far as, how my heart feels.
Yeah.
I hate to see him go into that and lose.
With this, and then he got hurt. Like, I hate, whether it's real or not, like, they showed something. I don't know if it was from that match last week where he was shaking his ankle off. Do you remember seeing that?
Yeah, it still could be a work. They could have planned it ahead of time, just so that he would still get the win and not take a loss, but at the same time not have to be in the match and take the loss.
To not win the title. Yep.
So I've seen instances where they've done the work injury ahead of time to where it looks legit, but then it doesn't end up being legit. So kudos to them if it is legit. If it is not legit, if it is legit, I feel bad for Dexter Lumis because he's my boy. I like that guy. Let's move on. Legado del Fantasma. Their music comes on. They don't come out. They come in through the regular doors into the back of the auditorium, and they are dragging Fandango to the ring. And the whole time he's saying, they're there to basically make Lucha serious. And these guys, or guys like this, have been making fun of Lucha Libre. They come out during the Great American Bash and they just poke fun at the Lucha tradition. And they're here to make it serious. Let's see, what else does he say?
Oh, I like when he said we're not, how he was taking Lucha seriously, and it says we're not a gimmick. Like, he cuts a good promo.
He really does. And he tells
them...
That's
what pulled me in to this group now. They're better than the guys on Raw. Who are the guys on Raw? With
Zelina
Vega.
Andrade and Angel Garza.
Like, just their presence, right? And if they're going to be the Lucha Hispanic, they got my attention better than the main ones on the main roster.
They're a cohesive group, and it's everybody behind one guy. Everybody behind Santos Escobar, and that name alone, I mean, that is a leader's fucking name right there.
The Cruiserweight champion?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is the Cruiserweight champion.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because he had that title.
Well, he calls out first he tells the guys, that's Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza, to set up Fandango. And I don't know what he's going to do with them, because Tyler Breeze comes running out and tries to save the day. But it's 3-on-1, and he gets beat down too. And this is where Escobar says, "Speak my name, and this will be your future," basically. Like, even think about me, and this is going to be your future. And he's talking to everybody that's been talking about him, especially Swerve, who said he actually beat him.
And I like them using Breezango here for these guys. Like, you know what I mean? They're not in a position where they need to go over, and they're, just this is good. Like this, the type of stuff that I like. I like this stuff, and we'll
they're
see
not.
whatever it turns into. The promo pulled me in. You know what I mean? A character pulled me in. That's now whatever match or whatever they get out of this, that gets me invested, and then I might care about some of the moves when they wrestle.
These guys are badass. They're like a cartel. They're guys that you see on the street and you wouldn't want to fuck with, you know?
Yes.
I like it. Let's see. Bronson Reed and Damien Priest, this is their confrontation outside by the car, where Priest basically insinuates that it was a fluke that Bronson Reed won. He says, don't get used to all this because, you had a fluke, but I'm actually going to win that ladder match. Bronson Reed takes exception to this. This ends up into a match challenge. And, of course, we're going to get the match because why the fuck not? We got 2 weeks. So we leave off here basically with the match challenge, but it will get confirmed later. What do you think about this match here? Who you got? Bronson Reed or Damien Priest?
Well, now, so Damien Priest, is this for like next week? Is this like just a match to line up for the next week?
This is going to be next week, yes.
So, and these are the guys, Bronson Reed's the bigger guy from the earlier match I like.
Well,
right?
He's the heavier maybe, but not bigger.
Well, that's what I meant. So, like, I'm kind of looking forward to this match because those are the two guys I enjoyed going over tonight in their matches. And I got to go Damien Priest here, but...
Yeah, me too.
Bronson, I'm not going to change my mind. Damien Priest.
If Bronson Reed beats Damien Priest, I would say Bronson Reed is definitely not winning the ladder match. Yeah. But I'd say Damien Priest because I don't think Damien Priest is going to win the ladder match. I think they're going to let me down. Let everybody down. Let him down.
But I like the way they did this, though. The AEW can take tips from them on some of these bump-ins and altercations and backstage things. NXT is doing a really good job, but they got the WWE production crew, which has always been top-notch anyway.
I like how they either make it organic or they work in somebody's desire to have a match with somebody else in the most organic way they can. The best example I can use is Dexter Lumis, because if he's not already in a match with somebody, he'll be like just show up somewhere during a match or during a backstage segment and be lurking and staring them down, and no words have to be spoken, but suddenly this is coming.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree with you. I like how they do a lot of things in NXT. Speaking of things you like in NXT, Pat McAfee joins Tom Phillips at the announce table. And so it's going to be them and Mauro Ranallo and Beth Phoenix, who I guess are at home via Skype or Zoom or whatever they're using. So we've got 2 more matches in the night, and why does he join before Tegan Nox and Indy Hartwell? This makes no sense, but fine. Let's warm him up a little bit. Tegan Nox and Indy Hartwell.
I just have to throw that in there.
Yeah, she is. She's pretty cute. Any other thoughts about the match?
No, I mean, but when I watch the women's match, especially if they're not anybody that I've kind of known about Dakota Kai for a while earlier in the night, and Rhea Ripley, but and Tegan Nox I've been exposed to, but when I'm watching them, I'm literally checking them out like more than I'm watching the actual moves. And call me creepy, I don't care, but I do know Tegan Nox went over, I believe, didn't she?
Yes, of course she did, because it's Tegan Nox versus Indy Hartwell. Now, I have 2 notes for this match, the very beginning and the very end. So I say it's Indy Hartwell, but she did get a win over Shotzi Blackheart. I mean, thanks to Aaliyah and Robert Stone, but whatever. She decides to just yell this at Tegan Nox at the beginning of the match, like this is going to help her any. But sure, why not? This gets Nox to slap her in the face. Match gets started. Match ends with Nox hitting the shittiest of wizards, and there we go. 1, 2, 3. That's all I got. I don't even remember anything else.
So that, I just don't. That's one thing. There's too much overlapping moves in matches these days. I wish they would collaborate more backstage and do different things in different matches. But I mean, they do, but I just don't like the overlapping moves these days.
I'm just saying,
Canadian Destroyers too.
We had 2 members of Team Kick, and now that they are destroyed, well, the team is. We had one of them in a match with Rhea Ripley that was freaking awesome, and then one of them got a match with Indy Hartwell that was completely forgettable. Now you could argue, well, there's been times where Tegan Nox have gotten big matches. She got a match against Io Shirai. Yeah, and did anybody fucking care about that match either? No. Tegan Nox is boring, I think. Cute might be her only attribute worth caring about.
That'll pull me in every time. Like I said, you're looking at a different thing when you watch those matches than I am.
All right, so next week we are going to get the final triple threat match before we have 2 singles matches. It is going to be Kushida versus Cameron Grimes, who I called for one of these matches. In fact, I'm calling for him to win, unless it's the fill-in-the-blank mystery opponent. We don't know who the third man is going to be. Who do you think it's going to be?
I don't even know. But, why do I want Kushida to win? Because I've always liked him when he was in New Japan. I love his style. I mean, because he was he's done some shoot fighting before, too. That's your boy Cameron Grimes. I don't know who the third one would be. I mean, who do you think?
Now I'm on the spot. Maybe Swerve. Isaiah Swerve.
Well, you
Scott.
put me on the spot, and then I swerved it back to you.
There you go.
That's what happened out there.
Maybe Dominic Dijakovic, if they're not calling him up yet. Maybe he's healed up and he's ready to go back for another shot at the mid-card championship.
Could it be anybody? Could it be Balor? Could it be...
Well, Balor's already going to be in one of the singles matches, and so is Johnny Gargano.
I mean, I'm thinking anybody.
That would be awesome. Tommaso Ciampa.
I'm just trying to think here
and he would get
just like a random person, but
he's got some history with Cameron Grimes. He could get a little bit of retribution there. And I don't know about Kushida, but fuck Kushida. Nobody cares about Kushida. He can go back to the future for all I care. Let's move on to the other 2 matches. We've got Bronson Reed versus Damien Priest, which we've already talked about. And this is where we get confirmation of Karrion Kross versus Danny Burch, who he attacked backstage. Who you got between them 2? Gee, let me guess.
Karrion Kross.
Definitely. That brings us to the main event. The Tag Team Championships are on the line. Of course, this is the main event. I was kind of like, when the triple threat match happened earlier, I was kind of like, that's interesting. But then, oh yeah, the titles are on the line. Fabian Aichner and Marcel Barthel of Imperium defending against Kyle O'Reilly, who is returning, and Bobby Fish of Undisputed Era. And what do you think about the main event?
And Adam Cole was ringside, cheering them on. And, it was a good match. Obviously, anything with Undisputed Era, Fish and O'Reilly is going to be good. But meanwhile, this is my question. As the match is happening, and Pat McAfee's talking to smack, and you can hear, the Beth Phoenix saying whatever, because they're over there, right? They're all on headsets.
Yeah.
How could Adam Cole hear what Pat McAfee was saying? I mean, you know what I mean? I know they still have crowd noise, even though it's not a full arena.
Well, they said it was about 20 feet away. And
that part was weird. And that's the part that made me smile, though. As illogical as it was, because it wasn't as close as you think, I was like, oh, yeah, people. Anybody that thought this was a shoot for 1 second, egg on your face. So, I liked it.
I think you got to think about the acoustics of the place when there's not a lot of people there. I don't think there's anybody standing between them. And 20 feet isn't that bad of a distance if he's talking loud enough and if Cole has a reason to be trying to listen to what he's saying.
Well, they had to get to the setup for the end. That's what happened. That's what it was.
So he's talking smack about Cole and the Undisputed Era so badly that before the first commercial break, Beth Phoenix leaves commentary. I thought that was the best part of the whole thing. She's like, you know what? I just can't listen to this. And I'm sitting here thinking, are we thinking about the same Undisputed Era? The bad guys? The fucking bad guys? This is shit that they've been saying, and it's just now Pat McAfee comes in and says, oh yeah, they don't win except that they're 4 guys that help each other out, and suddenly he's the bad guy.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's ironic.
Whatever. Let's see. My favorite move of the match was Kyle O'Reilly throwing Marcel Bartel's leg into Fabian Aichner's arm, and then hitting Aichner with a dragon screw leg whip that forces him to dragon screw leg whip Marcel Bartel. That was awesome. Let's see. The end of the match. Let's see. Cole goes over to yell at Cole, and to yell at Pat McAfee, and he calls Cole an angry elf. And Cole throws some water in his face, and all of this distracts Kyle O'Reilly, who gets knocked off the apron, and then they snatch up Bobby Fish and put him in the Eurobomb. 1, 2, 3.
Dude, are you ready for this? So, Angry Elf, I did like that, but like that's such a Will Ferrell from Elf movie thing.
But
I don't know if you ever watched that movie.
After match, this argument continues to go on to the point to where Triple H and Shawn Michaels come out, and they try and break it up. And while Pat McAfee is walking off, he decides better if it, turns around, goes and tells Cole, he says, "You're a short little bitch." That's what he called him. A tiny talent and a short little bitch. And this gets Cole pissed. He goes to like run over the table, and of course everybody's holding him back. So he ends up face down on the edge of the table with his head hanging off. Everybody's holding him down as Pat McAfee runs full force towards him and kicks him in the head. Kicks him in the face.
From the NFL.
Yeah. Wow. Cole is left twitching. Like, Shawn Michaels is like, are we going to get an EMT or a doctor or something? And he's just doing that awesome Cole twitch. Just face down on the ground. And McAfee is talking shit on his way being escorted out the door. So, that was the aftermatch and everything. That brings us...
It's setting something up.
That brings us to the end of the main event. And here on What's NXT, we like to rate the main event using the General's 5-star rating system. And you get to go first. Just the main event and the aftermatch and everything. Out of 5 stars, where would you rate it?
Well, it's weird. Like, do I rate the match by the work in the ring, or do I rate it because it got to the story of McAfee and Adam Cole? It was last week I gave the main event a 4, so we're not anywhere close to that this week. So I'll be modest because I do like Undisputed Era. And I do like what happened after the match, so I'll count it as 1. I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, that seems fair.
It wasn't exciting. It wasn't exciting enough to me. No, you know what I mean. It just because they were getting to the McAfee and Adam Cole post-match stuff. That's what it was designed for.
Yeah, and even the match itself was basically forgettable, except for all of the stuff going on commentary and between Cole and McAfee.
Yeah, and that's what I gave it.
You know, the only really great move was the Eurobomb at the end, and there you go. Or except for the double dragon screw leg whip, that was pretty fucking snazzy, if I do say so myself. The aftermatch, though, and everything going on there, super keen to that. I like that. And so that brings the match up for me. I would start it at good at a 3, but that's going to put the whole thing. With all of that going on, I'm going to call this 3.5. 3.5 stars for the main event.
And that's good because
just for the way it ended.
Exactly what I said, so I like that. We got to be a little different.
And I mean, the way they went into this, hyping up the Undisputed Era, because I don't even think the European Union, which is the tag name for Marcel and Barthel and Fabian Aichner outside of Imperium, I don't think they got a video package, but Undisputed Era got a lot of time on air leading up to the match, so it felt like the titles could have changed hands maybe, but then by the end it's like, oh yeah, this wasn't to be a title match. This was to set up all this shit with Cole and McAfee.
Yeah, like if they were wrestling and there wasn't going to be any aftermatch shenanigans, like on a TakeOver, you know this match was probably going to be a 4 or better.
At the very least, it was a clean ending.
Because tag matches in NXT are usually, especially tag title matches, are usually up there as the most excitement level on the show.
But at least it was a clean ending. Normally I would take some love off if it was some shenanigans or some shit. But in this case, I'm going to say solid 3.5. What does everybody think in the chat room? We got Natural Nate Spain. Gives it he's cutting it right in the middle, 3.25.
So look, our numbers are pretty good.
Yeah, Israel Diaz agrees with you. Out of 3-star. I'm solid with 3.5. The aftermatch, for me, of course, that's to the channel. The aftermatch for me was where it was, and I think this might actually lead up to something impressive out of Pat McAfee, because he delivered that punt in a way that looked devastating, but also obviously safe. So maybe he's been working on some shit that we don't know about.
Now, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Because we know Matt Riddle's on the main roster, but not about him. what, and we know controversy surrounding him, and he's either is he leaving WWE? What is the status of Velveteen Dream? And is he hurt? Are they keeping him a low profile because of the accusations? This guy, I mean, he's money. I just want to know where he is.
I think the fact that we haven't heard anything is good news. The fact that we haven't heard anything about an injury is possibly bad news, depending on how it works out. I think you're right. I think because of the allegations, I think if he had been suspended, I think we would have all these I thinks. We probably would have heard about a suspension or a firing on the website. So if he's not suspended and he's not fired, maybe they're just holding back giving him a push that they want to give him, or maybe he's a member of the Retribution,
and they do not want this guy to slip out of their hands and go to AEW. I think Vince McMahon knows about this guy. I really do.
Maybe Velveteen Dream was the girl's voice everybody said they heard during the Molotov cocktail segment.
But I had to bring it up because a couple of weeks doing an NXT show with you, and no Dream, and obviously we could say a million reasons why, but God, he's so good, so entertaining. God, the best. I hope a couple, several weeks from now, a couple months from now, we're like, there he is.
The best call ups to me, the best debuts for guys that are the ones that come completely by surprise and are actually booked well. Because a lot of ones that they try and, for instance, the return of the Hardys at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So if he's going to get called up, I guess, put some time in there, just have him disappear from NXT. Because if they call him up now, it's like, oh yeah, that's because he disappeared, he's getting called up. If they wait a few months and they get people wondering what's going on, and then they find the right storyline instead of just sticking him in there doing whatever, or maybe he's part of the Retribution, so we'll see.
Do you think it's weird guys like him and Matt Riddle never had the NXT title?
Well, so far we haven't seen whether Velveteen Dream will or won't. He is now. Well, he's capable now of going for it because Adam Cole doesn't have it anymore. So there's that. So maybe that was why he was gone. Maybe once Keith Lee faces Karrion Kross, then we'll see Velveteen Dream return and be like, "Hey, Cole doesn't have the belt yet. I'm coming for you." Other than that, if he's getting called up, I like the idea of holding off for a while. Let it be a surprise. Don't have a build-up. Just throw him in organically, but let it be a surprise. Anyway, I don't know. As far as Matt Riddle goes, I think he could have been a champ if they'd have let him stay there long enough, but he's too good of a talent to just stay in NXT long enough to deserve a title shot or a title run. Keith Lee stayed long enough to deserve it. Matt Riddle wasn't there long enough for that, but he didn't need to be there any longer. He is a great talent, and he picked it up fast. And I say that as somebody who watched him week by week get better and better. Didn't like him when he started on the mic, in the ring, anywhere. Now I like him everywhere, even on the mic. It's crazy.
That's good. I didn't like him when he was in the Indies. And
I probably wouldn't have either.
Something happened with him in NXT.
Whoever
a riddle mark.
Whoever took him under their wing and started training him once he got to NXT, they did a bang-up job. Because I think he's learned and grown faster than anybody I've seen come through NXT in the last 3 years.
Maybe Shawn Michaels will get that praise.
Maybe.
So I can't think anything else about NXT. I think I'm tapped.
I don't see any questions in the chat room. So I would say that brings us to the end of this episode of What's NXT. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you for being my special co-host of ViRTUE. I appreciate it.
It was a lot of pressure. I was expecting 3 people, so I got through it. Thank you.
Yeah, we were supposed to have Big G, but he had family stuff to do, so we wish you well, Big G. Otherwise, if you guys would like to be on a future episode, you can leave us a comment in the chat room or in the chats down below. Let us know how to get a hold of you, or you can find us on Twitter and Instagram. Let's see, Twitter is Aftermatch Rest, where we take the ling out of wrestling. whatever the fuck that means. And on Instagram is aftermatch_wrestling. And I believe Colin Andrew runs both of those, so he can get you a hold of us. Speaking of Twitter and all that jazz, where can they find you, ViRTUE?
Go to Twitter, because that's where I'm very active, at NoDQ_ViRTUE. And even though this is an NXT show, I'm going to plug my ViRTUE's Rage column is now back on NoDQ.com on the opinion section. And I just did a piece about Bray Wyatt. We have this thing going on now. Mr. Tito is now part of NoDQ. Jay's Ways, Justin Watry is now back writing hot columns for NoDQ. And weekly, I'm going to do a written ViRTUE's Rage. And just come and check it out. I mean, it's good stuff. I mean, even if you don't like me, you don't want to read my stuff, go read the other guy's stuff. It's really, really good.
The V's in the chat room says 1 star. I don't know if that's for the main event or for our show. Considering he's...
Well, on a 1-star system, it's our show, baby. 1 out of 1 star.
Considering he's Jerry's biggest fan, I assume it's this show because Jerry's not on it. So I apologize.
I'd love to have Jerry on.
Yeah. Hopefully next week.
He's ready to be on.
So other than that, you can find me on Twitter. Go to nodq.com/Stefan STEFAN or at Stefan R Osborne OSBORNE. As always, the R stands for ridiculous. You can also find General Jerry Slaughter on Twitter at General_JSJ and on Instagram at _Slaughter. The Gentleman Slaughter. And I'm on Instagram at osborne.stefan. If you'd like to help the channel out, we are on Patreon at Stefan R. Osborne. But if you just have a few seconds, there's a like button here. And I think I've already done it, but I've already done it. Click the like button. We've already gotten 3 dislikes before the show even started.
That's my fault, because I tweeted the link, and I was getting people pissed off on Twitter. They probably came over just to thumbs down anything I was on, but hey.
It's
sorry.
okay. The last video you were on last week got us over 100 views, so if you bring us that kind of viewership, I'll take the 3 dislikes, whatever. We get those occasionally anyway. Other than that, click the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are at 185, I think 186. I think during the show, ViRTUE, subscribe to the channel.
Look at it. I bet you it's more than that. Look at it.
Is it more?
It's probably 188.
I don't know. Let's look. Oh. Wrong one. I gotta sign out. I'm on the wrong channel. I'm under my personal channel. Let's see, switch account. Oh, 187. Holy shit. There you go. So we're at 187. So we're a smidge close to 200. Help us get there. Again, I'll probably do this for every show. If you want to see me drink, share the link. So you can do it now if you want to. Share us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at your grams. Use a permanent marker in a public restroom stall. Just memorize the link. There you go. That's all you got to do. Memorize the link. Anyway, I think that's the end of the show. Thank you again for co-hosting with me, ViRTUE. Find him on NoDQ.com. Find him on Facebook and Twitter. And for this Troll Slayer, ViRTUE, I am the Wizard of NoDQ, Stefan Osborne. Thank you for spending time with us. We will see you in NXT time.